Welcome back, everyone. For those of you who have been following the channel for a while, you know that I am a huge fan of Tycoon simulation games, and in fact have played several on the channel in the past. Well, today's game is one that I almost didn't discover at all, and it's got a bit of an interesting story behind it. So in today's video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I became aware of Brewer, and then we're going to get into a couple of different stages of gameplay so we can show you what this game has to offer. So a couple of days ago, the developer reached out to me and offered me an opportunity to check out their game. And at first, it just didn't seem like the type of game I would be interested in because I really don't have any knowledge at all of the subject matter. I mean, this is a game about brewing many different types of beer and selling them in pubs that you operate around different districts in the city. However, before I turned down the opportunity, I wanted to look a little deeper because developers don't reach out to me very often with an opportunity to play their game. So in doing my due diligence, I discovered that there was a lot of the core mechanics of a Tycoon simulation that I do really enjoy. Operating a business, regardless of what the product is that we're making and selling. Operating a business, hiring employees, dealing with budgets, revenue, all sorts of things like that. All of the basics are there. So I decided to give it a shot and am really excited to bring you the gameplay today. So we're going to get started off by taking a look at what the gameplay is at the very start of a game, and then we'll jump forward a little bit to one of my saves that I've been working on that is a little bit deeper into the game and just show you how some of the gameplay evolves over time. But before we get to the gameplay, one more thing to take a look at. You can see here on the right hand side of the screen, we have some very basic options. Start a new game, load an existing game, settings, and then of course, exit. Also in the top left-hand corner, we have a couple of different language options. And for most of you, I'm sure watching this video, English will be the decision that you'll make here. So let's go into the settings, and you can see very basic. Once again, sound volume, I've got it turned down to 10. Music volume, I have turned off for the purposes of recording, but I must admit there is some very pleasant music that plays along and is very soothing while you're playing the game. And the most important setting is at the very bottom. Auto pause at the employee completion. And we'll see that here in just a few moments, but we're certainly going to leave that checked as it's going to be a big benefit for us during gameplay. So now let's come in under new game. We need to name our brewery. So I'm going to name it Tennessee's Finest for the state where I reside. And difficulty level, easy or normal. And you can see on easy it says that the chance to brew higher quality beer is higher here. So we're simply going to leave it at the default of easy. And here you can see we are ready to get started. Now, at the very beginning, we're going to go ahead and move through this. We are not going to play the tutorial. We're going to exit out there. So we've got some objectives which will show up in the top left-hand side of the screen. Right now we need to open up a new pub in Big Mugs. That's one of the districts here in the city. And as a reward for doing that, we will receive some beer from one of our friends. So at first you see that we only have a small portion of the map. One district is available for us right now. And then a little bit later in the game, we'll see what the entire map looks like. So we need to go ahead and get started by taking care of our objectives. But first, let's actually take a look at our main objective and then our first objective, which is to open up a new pub in Big Mugs. Okay, no problem there. Our main objective is to ruin or acquire all of our competitors. Now, at this point, we don't have any competitors here in our very first district, but that will change as time goes on. So that's our victory condition. We know exactly what we need to do. We either need to run them out of business or we need to buy them out. So first things first, we need to mouse over our district. And as we do so, you can see the highlighted area. And we click on that and we get an idea of our customer base. Now there are 12 different types of customers and each of them have their own preferences in the beer that you're going to provide. So you need to take a look here. Obviously, the higher the number you see here, the more demand you're going to have from these types of folks. So you see we've got 39 industry workers, 23 tipplers, we've got partiers, lady friends, and so on. So here it seems like the biggest customer base we have are industry workers, and then it tells us what their preferences are. They prefer either cheap or premium beer, medium or strong on the strength, balanced to bitter on the bitterness scale, and then traditional on the creativity. So very basic options really whenever you think about it. And so we need to start out by opening up a pub, which is going to cost us $4,000. There you have it. We have successfully completed our first objective and been given that gift of some beer from our friend. So we've also earned another opportunity, a new objective, which was if we can earn $5,000 through running an operation of our pub, then we'll get additional beer from our friend. So apparently our friend has a nice brewery already up and going, as they're going to be giving us free beer along the way. So right now we have $3,000 and we have a single pub. So now we're going to come back out, and instead of clicking on the district itself, we're going to actually click on the pub and start to take a look at what is involved in operating one of these pubs. Now, right now, our pub is closed. We can choose to open it, but we can do so no earlier than 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And right now it is 8 a.m. And at the top of that, you can see that we have day, week, and month. And of course, one's across the board as we're just getting started. So it's 8 a.m. We certainly can't open the pub yet, but let's take a look at what we have. First of all, you have our inventory of existing beer. A total of 1,600 pints can be held in storage as of right now, but we'll look at some upgrades here in a moment where we can increase that. Then we have the number of visitors. Of course, right now this is going to be 0, but once it's open, the maximum number of visitors is 50, and once again, we can upgrade that as time goes along. But of course, we're going to need some nice income in order to do that. Next, we come to our employees, and while the pub is operating, you're going to need a bartender and a security guard. Then, whenever it's closed, you can hire an advertiser to try to increase the popularity, which right now is at 10. And then also you'll want to hire a cleaner in order to get rid of most or all of the disorder that accumulates during the course of the bar being open. So those are the folks that I use on a regular basis. There are also 2 additional types of employees that you can hire, and that is an accountant if you want to get involved in tax evasion, which will substantially increase the amount of money you make on a daily basis by avoiding taxes. And then there's also a briber, and you can see here $250 is what it will cost in order to keep the district administration away for 24 hours. So the reason this could come in handy for some people is if you like to run a bit of a disreputable establishment and use accountants to try to hide from the taxes, then you'll want to keep the inspectors away, because if they catch your accountant trying to hide income, then it is going to be a huge penalty. Now, me personally, these really don't work for me. I'm not interested in those. I'm more of a traditional gameplay instead of trying to cheat my way through and take these risky chances in the way we operate our business. So now we know we're going to need some employees. We're going to need a total of 4, 2 at any given time in the pub. So we've got a couple of different options here. We can click straight on this option for the tap, which is to appoint a bartender. And that would actually have us select an employee from the list and have them become the bartender. However, that is a bit cumbersome and very easy to forget when you have to do it on a daily basis. So the better option is to turn on auto assignment for each of these jobs. So now let's take a look at exactly how easy that can make things. We're going to go to the top right hand corner, click on employees, And right now we have boss. That's us. And for us, we can work as many hours during the day as we want to with no worries about pay or overtime rules or anything like that. But we're going to go ahead and hire some employees. So let's go ahead and hire one, $5 per hour. And we're going to go to bartender, and we're going to choose Gerald and make him the auto-assigned bartender. So now at 4 o'clock every afternoon, Gerald will show up as the bartender, and we don't have to manually select him and make sure that he is in the staff. We're going to next hire a new employee. This looks like it's going to be Brad. He's going to be our cleaner. So we're going to auto-assign him. Next up, we need a security guard, which is going to be David. There we go. And one more here, an advertiser, which is going to be Jerry. So now this pub is taken care of as far as our employees on a daily basis. And again, if we want to do the accountant and the briber, that is a separate operation. Then we can move into improvement. This is where we're really going to focus if we want to increase the profitability of our pub. So first of all, we've got the snack menu. And if we mouse over the question mark, you can see each level increases the revenue by 20%, and then it also increases the maintenance costs by $3 per hour. So we've got some costs that we're going to incur, but the increase in revenue is fairly large. And we've got a total of 4 levels here. So we start off at level 1. We can upgrade 3 times to get to level 4 in each of these categories. Moving on now to the size of the pub. This is where we're going to get into the number of visitors. Right now we're at 50. But each time we increase this level, we add 50 more occupants. So when we move to level 2, we'll have a total of 100 visitors that are allowed. This also increases the storage capacity by 400 pints, and then once again increases the maintenance cost as well. So an additional 400 pints would get us up to a level 2 of 2,000 pints that we could hold. And of course, how many pints that we need to have in storage at any given time is going to be based off of our sales on a given day, which of course we're going to need some data on that, and we'll receive that data at the end of each day. Then we move on to the security system and entourage. So security system, this is where you start to get into another aspect of the game that will allow you to play a little bit dirty. You can actually hire operatives that can go into rival pubs and try to cause trouble that will eventually put them out of business. You can either start fights or try to ruin their inventory, sabotage them in some way. And so the security system is a way for us to protect ourselves from one of our competitors doing this activity to us. So each time we increase this level, it reduces the chances of success by rival agents by 10% and increases the cost of them trying to sabotage us by 20%. Then finally, entourage. Each level increases the minimum popularity of the pub by 10%, and then once again increases the maintenance costs. So we certainly have quite a bit of improvements we can do to the pub, but for right now, we only have $3,000, and we're going to need to get started brewing beer. So we're not going to do any upgrades just yet, but that is certainly something we're going to want to pay attention to as time progresses. So now that we've got our employees in place, the advertiser will slowly start to increase this popularity. And then, of course, the other part of popularity is how good our product is and how much we're tailoring our product to the customer base, which in this case, we've already taken a look at some of the different customers we have. Now, we've got that part out of the way. We need to start working in our brewery, creating beer, transporting it over to our pub, and so on. So now we're going to come for that into the top left-hand corner of the screen. We have the first area, which is the brewery itself. It shows us how much beer we have in storage and how much beer wort we have. Now, beer wort is what we're going to create actually in the brewery, and then we'll let that ferment for anywhere from 1 to about 4 or 5 days, I believe, until it's ready to be sold in our pub. So right now we have 1,200 pints in storage, and that comprises anything from malt liquor, hooch, pale lager, fruit stout, and then one that I have no idea what that is. So again, this is where it comes back to my lack of knowledge about the subject matter. So we have 2 recipes that we know right off the bat, and these are for the cheaper beers. And as I mouse over them, you can see that a window pops up and tells us that this is a pale beer. It is in the cheap category as opposed to the premium category. The basic price, now it shows $2 here. That's the default price that will be charged at our pub. However, this base price is essentially based on 75% quality, and we're going to have some opportunities to get much higher quality than that. Then we move down to the hooch, and you can see here, mixed color, cheap, base price is also $2, and then it has some different characteristics in strength, bitterness, and creativity. I think either of these, and in fact both of these, have an opportunity to appeal to our very first district, so we're going to brew a little bit of each. Down below this, we have some unlearned recipes, and you can see we've got a couple of more lagers that are down here. Right now, we have 1 learning point available. You earn learning points by making more money, opening more pubs, uncovering more of the map, and so on. As you complete these objectives, you'll receive more learning points, which you'll be able to use to learn additional recipes, and you'll also be able to expand your brewery as time goes on. For right now, we're just going to leave that learning point as is and move on to the second tab, which are the recipes. Then we have the ingredients. So right now our recipes will show us exactly what we need. In this case, on the pop-up window, we know we need 4 malt, 1 each of hop and yeast. And this particular beer does not have any additives to it. Then you can see that the hooch is exactly the same as far as the requirements that we need for the beer. So we can move over to ingredients, and we can manually purchase any of these ingredients that we need and keep up to 100 ingredients in storage for right now. However, there's an easier way of doing this. Now, you can certainly go in and manually pick up all of the ingredients you need from time to time and keep stocked up on those. However, there is a better option, and we'll see that here in just a moment when we start to make our first brews. So now we move over to the fourth and the final tab, which is equipment and cars. So here we have the number of brewery tanks. You can see right now we have slots for 3 of them. Currently, we have 1 car available, and then we have no experience points to upgrade our brewery just yet, but much like what we saw earlier with the recipes, we'll earn different experience points as we level up, purchase more pubs, make more money, and so on. Okay, so let's go ahead and minimize that. And you can see we have a total of 2 tanks right now, which means we have the possibility of brewing beer twice as we get started. And in order to do that, we need to come back over to the employee section under management, and we're going to need to hire another employee. Now, you don't necessarily have to run it this way, but part of my enjoyment for the game comes from hiring employees and managing this whole process. So let's go ahead and do that. So we've hired Davis now. The way this game functions is that each person starts out with no experience in any of the categories. And as I mouse over each one of these employees, you can see at the very top of the screen over here in this area, right next to the tab, there's a pop-up box. And right now, everybody is at 0s under all the different categories. But the more we use them in that job function, the better they will get and the better quality of work they'll do. And of course, ultimately, the more money we will make. So Davis is going to be one of our brewers. So let's go ahead and get started. Of course, we will be the other brewer, being the boss. So let's go back to recipes. Both of these are unused and they are fully clean. That will change over time. So we're just going to do one in each. We're going to do the malt liquor in one of these. Now we need to choose the tank. We'll choose simply, they're both the same at this point. We'll choose the top one, and then the employee, we'll go ahead and put boss man on this one. Maximum number of pints is only 40 as we're just getting started out. But again, a little bit later in the video, we'll see that that can change quite a bit. All right, so 40. Now we come over to the bottom right-hand corner, and you can see buy ingredients. So it will automatically purchase all the ingredients we need to make the malt liquor. So we're going to click on that, and you can see it costs us $8 in ingredients. And we have two options. We can either brew this beer manually, or we can skip that, and it will give us a random opportunity for the quality of the beer. This very first time, we're going to go ahead and get started doing the manual process. So the manual process involves a couple of things. First, we press the space bar to start the timer, which is in the top of the screen in the center. And then each one of these bars, our job is to keep them in the green as much as we can. The more we keep them in the green, the higher the quality the beer will ultimately be. So let's go ahead, press the space bar, and get started. Now the way I'm going to try to move these knobs is simply by left clicking on them. You don't actually have to drag them or move them any. Just left click will suffice. So here we go. And so what we're waiting on is for the timer to get all the way back around. So far, so good. And there we go. We're done. What did we get? 99% quality. So it is pretty simple to get very high quality beer doing it this way. But of course, you're presented with a trade-off in time. If you want to skip this process, you might get high quality beer. You might not. So right now, we have an opportunity. We could make this a signature recipe if we wanted to, which would mean that this malt liquor, our signature malt liquor, would always come out at 99% quality, even if we automatically brew it and skip that step that we just did. All right, so that takes care of the first one. Now you can see our equipment. It's going to be 9% dirty, so we'll need to clean this as soon as we're done. There's our 2 hours that it's going to take to brew this. We still have one more tank remaining. Let's go ahead and brew some of the hooch in this one. And we'll choose the employee, which right now is going to be Davis. Okay, once again, we'll brew the maximum number of pints, which is 40 right now. We'll have an opportunity to buy much bigger equipment as time goes on. Another $8 spent for that. And there you can see, this time we simply skipped the manual brewing step and went straight to the final product, and we only get 69% quality. So a huge difference there. That is actually, in fact, a little bit below the default value of 75%, which is what's used for the pricing. So we might have a little bit of trouble selling that 69% quality beer for the same price as 75% or higher. So for right now, we are not going to change the pricing, but if we wanted to change the pricing, the way we would do that is to come into our inventory in selling or our available inventory, click on the beer we want, and then simply click change price. And we'll see that here in just a few moments. So now we've got our equipment up and running. We're brewing in both of our small tanks. So now we need to get the cars working so that we can actually get some beer over to our pub. So the first thing we're going to do is load up. And here you can see the quantities, and there are many different ways to sort these, but the way it is currently, we don't have enough in inventory to really have to worry too much about sorting. We're going to go ahead and start off with the hooch. That's 400 available there, leaving us a total of 400 additional pints. And so let's just go ahead and do some of the malt liquor. That'll give us 700. And then, let's see, let's take this one I've never heard of, and we'll go ahead and fill out the maximum 800. Now that we've got all of our cargo loaded, we'll start transporting. We'll choose the pub, which right now we only have one pub. And which employee do we want? Well, we actually want to hire an employee here. So let's go ahead and hire a driver, and that driver is going to be Mark. Now, Mark will not be leveling up in delivery skill, but he will give us an opportunity to have an additional employee. Now, you notice these other employees that work in one capacity or another for our pub are not currently working. They're not currently doing anything, and that's okay. We just want to make sure that we don't work any of our employees, aside from the boss, which is us, for more than 8 hours a day, or the cost substantially increases for their labor. All right, so now everybody is all set. I'm going to press the space bar, and we're going to move time forward a little bit. Now, remember back on the main menu where we saw that option that time would automatically stop when employees are finished? Well, most everything in this game takes 2-hour increments. So here we are at 10 a.m. now. On our very first day, our brewing is done. Now we need to clean. And of course, you can always go back and brew more in these tanks, but it's going to decrease the quality of any beer that we brew now. So I'm going to go ahead and clean the tank after each time. And we're going to use the same 2 people that we did earlier, or at least if I can remember who they were. I think it was Davis that was brewing that beer. So now, there we go. That's going to take 2 hours to fully clean the tank. Now, let's go back into our pub. You can see the 2 hours have passed. We now have 800 in stock. Let's go ahead and click on that so we can take a look at how the pricing works. So again, we've got our hooch, and we know that the basic price there is $2. We've left it the same. Okay, 75%, so that seems about right. Malt liquor, same thing, $2. We're at 75% quality, so we're right at the default. Now, here in our final brew, we have a base price of $4. So this is a premium beer, and it's at 80% quality, so we might be able to increase the price just a touch, but for our purposes, we're going to leave it alone. Should we decide to change that, we would simply click on change price and increase or decrease the cost accordingly. But again, we're going to leave this as is for now. So we've got 800 out of 1,600 total. Let's go ahead and send the rest of our inventory over there. Now, you notice it's very important to keep track of how many days that this beer has until it expires. We certainly don't want to have any beer expire on us because that's just wasted money. Okay, let's go ahead and set up our delivery. And we're going to go with Mark once again, our delivery guy. And once again, everybody has a job at this point. Now we're going to move forward to 12 o'clock. Now we're back to everything is clean and empty. It's time to brew some more beer. And once again, we're just going to go one of each. Choose the employee. We're going to go boss man in the first one. Let's go ahead and buy our ingredients. And you can see we've already gained just a little bit of experience from that first batch. So we're going to skip the manual brewing, and let's see what kind of luck we have this time. Okay, this time we're at 86%. So still not anywhere near as high as what we could do manually brewing, but it does give you an option to save time if you're interested there. All right, now we need to get started in our other tank. So we're going to do the hooch there. And let's see, we want... now I've forgotten, who is it? It's Davis, I believe, is our other brewer. Normally you would need to write these down probably because you can imagine as you expand your operations, it is going to be quite a different situation as you're scrolling through these numbers of employees. All right, here, not all that good of quality. We're only at 70% there. So certainly not where we want to be ultimately. All right, so now it's going to take 2 more hours. We're at noon right now. and there's really nothing else to deliver. So let's go ahead and move time forward to 2 o'clock. There we go. We're done once again. Let's start the cleaning. And once again, we'll try to set up the same 2 people as before. And I believe that is Davis that has been working in here. Okay, they're set. Still no cargo to worry about. Now let's come over to our inventory. Now that you can see we have 160 in the beer ward, and that is going to be ready in, looks like 20 hours for these 2. They'll be ready to transport to the pub, and then 24 hours here. Again, it takes a full day for these to actually be ready to sell. And so we're a few hours into this particular operation. This is something you'll have to keep track of as time goes on. The different recipes have different amounts of time that they need to ferment. So you're looking at anywhere from 1 to 4 or 5 days in general, just depending on the type of beer. All right, let's go ahead and move things forward because we need to get to 4 p.m. so we can actually open up our pub. All right, there we go. So pub is now open. You can see that here at opening, we have 20 of the max 50 visitors. And so if we click on the visitors, you can see how many of each group are in here. We expect to have mostly industry workers. So let's take a look. And for right now, normally I would be brewing more stuff, but right now I just want to focus on letting this run and moving through the night. You can see our money is going up. And as we get to midnight, the pub will close automatically. And we get an opportunity to see how much money we've made. Now, in this particular situation, you notice our expenses are huge. And that's because we had to open the pub today. So that was $4,000 of it right there. So we would have made about $30, $40 aside from the opening cost that we had. We sold 261 pints. Our popularity went up by 20. Profitability did not change, which is good because it starts out at 100 and we want to keep it there as much as possible. Disorder went up by 6, but that was greatly helped by the fact that we had a security guard on duty. So that is an awesome idea to keep the security guard there. All right, so at the end of day 1, you can see it's showing us at 0 o'clock right now, and there's nothing else that we can actually start because we need to sleep. So let's go ahead and sleep, and we'll start day number 2. And day number 2 will start just the same way as the others. We would actually get started brewing additional beer. We would get our vehicles ready to go, all fully loaded, and sending the beer over to the pub. But for now, let's actually move ahead a little bit to a save that I've got that we're going to see at the top of the screen is going to be much farther along than the early game. All right, here we are, and things look quite a bit different than what we were seeing a few moments ago. Let's start at the top of the screen. You can see we're at 8 a.m., so a brand new day has started. We are in the 2nd month, 3rd week, and 1st day. So we are quite a bit farther along than we were at day 1, just a little bit earlier. And right now, let's first take a look at the entirety of the map and see how many districts we've got. All of these districts, of course, have their own clientele, and you can click on each of them to see the clientele and what type of beer they're looking for. So here we got Boozy Town, we've got Hangover Shore, and then we come down to, this is where we started, in Big Mugs. That is the only part that was available to us at the beginning of the game, and you can see there are many more opportunities to expand. And where we see these red icons, that's where our competitors are. So lots of opportunities for us to expand. Let's go ahead and move back over. Currently, we own 4 of the pubs. We own one in Hangover Shore, which you can see us in the blue icons. Then, of course, the one in Big Mugs that we started with. Then we've got one down here in Drunkville, and then the most recent one that I opened just a couple of days ago in game time is actually one over in Central Gardens. Now, let's take a look at the one in Central Gardens really briefly here, as it is heavily upgraded. You can see we have room for 2,800 pints here, room for 200 visitors. Of course, we have our normal workers that are assigned, auto-assigned to the pub. But then we come under the upgrade section and you can see snack menu and pub size are both maxed out. So 200 is the max number of visitors we can handle in the pub at any given time. And I've started to upgrade both the security system and the entourage as well. Each one of these takes a certain amount of money, either $2,000, $1,500, or $1,000, depending on what you want to upgrade. Here you can see our popularity, profitability still at 100, so that is excellent. And the disorder is at 28. Now the disorder will be taken care of by our cleaner for the most part. So that'll be down to a nice low number. The higher the disorder, the lower the popularity will end up being, as people will ultimately stop coming to your pub if there is a lot of trouble that takes place there. All right, also at the top of the screen, you can see we've done some upgrades to our storage in the brewery as well. Now we have room for 12,000 pints. And right now you can see we've been busy because we have 10,000 available to us. So if we come in and look at the beer we have, we've got a few different brews. And in fact, I did a couple of signature brews just to show you guys exactly what that looks like. So we've got Hoochie Mama, which is our signature brand of the hooch. And then we've got, let's see, there it is, Tutti Frutti, which is the fruity cocktail. So we've got a couple of signatures out there. You're allowed a total of 15 signature brews over the course of the game. But the good news about these is they are always maximum quality. So we should be able to charge additional money for those. All right, now we come into the recipes, and you can see we have quite a few more recipes that are available, and we've got 2 learning points to learn additional recipes if we should need to. So a lot of different options here. And again, the options you choose are going to be based on the preferences of the clientele in each of these districts. All right, now we come over to the equipment, and you can see that no longer are we dealing with 40 pints at a time. We have huge brewery tanks, which are 1,000. So we can brew up to 1,000 pints at a time, and it still just takes the same 2 hours. So we now have 2 of those in operation. So we have huge amounts that we can turn out on a daily basis. Also, if we come back over and take a look at the beer ward, you can see we have 7,000 that is in various stages of being ready. Here, the longest at the bottom, 58 more hours before our signature fruit drink is ready to go. So to start off the day, you see we have 3 cars, and there's a reason for that. We have 4 pubs, and we need to keep them fully stocked if at all possible. Now, if we come down to our pub in Drunkville, it is by far and away the most profitable one to this point. The 2,800 that we can keep in stock, we basically need to have 2,800 because you can see there's not very much left at the end of the day. It sells well over 2,000 pints per night and makes a tidy sum of money. So let's go ahead and get these guys started on the cargo. We have 1,000 of each of these. Let's go ahead and do our signature hooch. And you can see we only have room for 800. So we can't quite get the full 1,000, but that's okay. We can always make another run. We've got between 8 a.m. and 4 p.m., so certainly not a problem there. All right, so we're going to start out with Drunkville since it is our best performing pub. And let's see, our drivers, I've got them written down somewhere. There we go. Anthony is the first of our drivers, so we'll get him started. All right, next up, let's see, what do we want to do? Let's do the 200 and then 600 to fill out the maximum 800 there. So we'll go ahead and get that prepared, and we'll transport that also over to Drunkville. Again, we need to fill it up and make sure that we have the maximum amount. Let's see, Walter is also one of our drivers. And that's pretty much it right now. We've got, I tell you what, let's go ahead and send the fruit over, but we need, actually either one of these will work. Let's go ahead and start off with 400 here, and then we'll take the remaining 400 from the fruit stout. Let's get that one started. The pub we're going to send this one to is actually Central Gardens. It's the one that prefers this type of drink as opposed to the ones we've seen with the hooch or the lager so far. All right, our final driver is assigned. All right, so all of these guys are busy working. And let's see, what do we want to beer? We're going to go, let's go ahead and do our signature Hoochie Mama brand in the huge tank. And let's see, who's going to do this one? Boss Man will do this one. Maximum, again, 1,000. That's going to cost us $200 in ingredients. And we don't have to worry about the manual brewing because it's always going to come out at 100% because it's a signature. All right, there we go. That's all set. Now we need to go, let's see, let's go ahead with another of our signature brand. Choose the employee, and that's going to be Alfred. And you can see Alfred has just gotten started into brewing, so his experience is not all that high. But again, it won't matter here because it's a signature. So 100% quality, excellent. All right, so now everybody is busy at work. Of course, in each one of our pubs, we have our marketers and our cleaners that are busy taking care of the pubs during the day before they open. So everybody's ready to go. Let's move things forward. And at this particular point, let's go ahead and do, just for example purposes, let's go ahead and send a little bit more over to the Drunkville pub just to make sure that we get that. And once again, where are our drivers? Let's see, there he is, Anthony, our first driver. And let's go ahead and get that. Again, sending out our signature to these pubs. Let's go ahead. We need to send some more to Hangover Shore. And who is next? We need Walter. There he is. And then finally, the fruit. And let's go ahead and do the remaining signature that we have available. Choose the pub. And so as we take a look at what is available, looks like these guys are doing pretty good. Not quite full, but let's go ahead and send this to Big Mugs. Not exactly what they are looking for on a normal basis, but hopefully we'll do okay with it. Get our driver loaded. And now everybody is all set. We're going to ignore the additional brewing. We've already taken a look at that in the past. So now we're simply going to move forward and see how much money we can make today. All right, so time automatically stops when these deliveries are done. We're going to go ahead and get it started back up. Again, not dealing with any new brews. The inspections team has started to show up. This happens more and more the more pubs you have. And of course, it can happen even more often if one of your competitors tries to sabotage you. But in this case, we're doing everything we need to do. We're keeping our pubs clean. We're not trying to evade our taxes, so we shouldn't have any worries. Okay, let's start the time up once again. And you can see they're back at another one of our pubs, but once again, they don't find anything. Back this time at Hangover Shore, once again, not finding anything. We're now at 7 p.m. and you can watch the money going up. We're at 23,000 now. Oh, and we've had a visit by a popular blogger. Let's see, he made a review. He liked the quality of the beer, so that's going to increase the popularity of that particular pub. Now, he was in Central Gardens, which is one of our new ones, so that is very good that it's going to increase our publicity. So now we're at 9 p.m. Let's go ahead and move forward to midnight. And there you have it. Revenue, $19,727.18. Expenses, $7,800, almost $7,900, for a total profit for today of almost $12,000. And here you can see the information about just how much beer was sold in each of these areas. So 1,400, 600, 2,300, and 1,600. So we're doing quite well, quite a bit of disorder, which again, we'll take care of that. Looks like Big Mugs, they might have had actually a fight in there during the time. That's usually what happens to make the disorder that high. All right, so not bad. We made $11,837, which is a far cry from the $30 or $40 we made on day one. And again, all of that comes from, yep, there's our dust up that we had. So we incurred some additional expenses there for the cleanup. But the big thing to do in this game is to continue doing the improvements. Continue making your pubs bigger as they need to be bigger. Keep an eye out for the number of visitors and whenever it maxes out. So if you're at a level 1 pub and you see that it's staying at 50 out of 50 for most of the night or all of the night, then that's when you need to increase the size. The snack menu is extra money. The $2,000 is more than worth it. And you can see, as you continue on in the game and get bigger and bigger, we only have 4 pubs right now, nowhere near all of the area covered. And we're making lots and lots of money. So that $2,000 is well worth it to make these upgrades. Same thing with the security system and entourage. But you can see, I haven't had to spend near as much time on those as I have focused on the pub size and the snack menu. Even on our brand new one here in Central Gardens, it's already maxed out. I've seen enough from this game to know that I need to get these maxed out as soon as I possibly can. So that's going to do it for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, and go ahead and check out Brewer, available now on Steam.